And in this video, we take a look at two eyewitness accounts on the 6th of December 1995, which could shed a completely different light on the murder of Tucker, Tate and Rolfe.
Hello. Hello, police. Yeah, what's the problem, sir? We just drove down our farm track. Yeah. Go and feed our pheasants. We come across a Range Rover with three people in it. Yeah. It appears that they're dead. I don't know what's happening. Blood in the motor all over them.
And welcome back to a new video on the Essex Boys case. As always, if you are enjoying the content, please do give the video a thumbs up. And if you're interested in the Essex Boys case, or simply true crime in general, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. The following police statement is from the 27th of December 1995, given by Mr. Arthur Robert White. He states the following. At around 17:15 hours on Wednesday the 6th of December 95, I was travelling along the A127 arterial road in the general direction of Southend. At this time I had just left Basildon. It was dark and damp. I was driving my own car, which is a metallic blue Austin Metro, vehicle reg Delta 748 Foxtrot Victor Foxtrot, in the offside lane. I was alone. Somewhere near the turnoff for the A130, I was aware of a blue-coloured Range Rover travelling in the near side lane of the dual carriageway just ahead of me in the same direction. There were a couple of cars in front of me, then the Range Rover in front of them. The road was busy with cars at this time. My attention was drawn to the Range Rover because the driver seemed to be unsure of where he was going. I say this because on two occasions he moved over towards the offside lane and then went back to the near side lane immediately. These manoeuvres were deliberate in as much that in hindsight he may have been trying to obtain a view of the traffic ahead. The Range Rover was a mid-blue colour and seemed in good condition. There was two people in the back, which were both white men. I would age them around 30 to 40 years of age. I think they were scruffy and were not suited to that type of car. I saw the driver momentarily on two occasions that he pulled over. He was a white man, slightly younger than the two in the back. I couldn't see if the front passenger seat was occupied or not. I would describe the driver as having straight, dark, shortish hair. He was clean shaven. I seem to recall that the man behind the driver had a dark reefer type coat. The jacket had big lapels on it. I cannot describe the men any further. When I saw them, I was driving at a speed of 40 to 45 miles per hour. I last saw the Range Rover when it turned off onto the A130 as if they were going to Chelmsford or Canvey Island. Since the 6th of December, I have been aware through local media of the three men shot dead at Rettendon. I have seen pictures of these three men on the news. I can only say that the persons I saw were similar to those three. Okay, so let's get a map up here so we can get an idea of exactly where this eyewitness account took place. So this is the A127, and he would have been travelling in this direction along with the Range Rover towards this roundabout here. Now, what's interesting is that the road that now runs up to Rettendon and to White House Farm is now known as the A1245, which is different to what it was back in 1995. So the Range Rover could have reached this roundabout and made its way towards White House Farm. Now, where this gets a little bit more intriguing is the fact that as we move up this road here towards Rettendon, we come to the Rettendon Turnpike, and you'll understand why that is important in a little while. As you move on past through the Rettendon Turnpike, you come onto Main Road and eventually to the premises of White House Farm, and also the lane where the Range Rover was discovered back in 1995, the scene of the murders. So let's rewind now and talk about the statement itself. What are my opinions when I read that statement? Well, the first thing that comes into my mind is this is the Range Rover. This is the Range Rover being driven by someone who matches a description of Craig Rolfe. Straight, short hair, clean shaven, younger than the two occupants in the back seat. Interestingly, he mentions there that he couldn't see if there was anyone in the front passenger seat. So could it be that at this point in time we had 3 occupants of the vehicle, we have Craig Rolfe driving and 2 rear occupants? Now where this statement takes a bit of a more interesting turn is when we look at the timeline here. Now this eyewitness account occurred around 5:15 p.m. and it's important that we focus on that, the fact that this is an approximate time. He says around 5:15, around 17:15 of the evening, I saw the following. So it's approximate. But where is Pat Tate during this time period? There's an undisclosed telephone call from Pat Tate's house at 6:03 p.m. So who are the individuals in the Range Rover? If this is being driven by Craig Rolfe, who is the man in the back wearing the reefer jacket with the big lapels and the other rear occupant? What I also find intriguing about this statement is the manner in which the Range Rover is being driven here. He mentions the Range Rover swerving from lane to lane, almost as if they're trying to get a view of the vehicles up ahead. This is a common feature when compared to the statement of Rebecca Carr, which I'll get into shortly. Now, before we take a look at that statement, I just want to play devil's advocate here for one moment. Now, some people who look into this case have come up with the idea that at least one of these individuals out of Tucker, Tate and Rolfe was in on the hit and they were somehow double-crossed as well. Who are these individuals in the back of the Range Rover? If neither of these people in the Range Rover is Pat Tate, then who are these individuals and why are they heading towards White House Farm? Is it to drop someone off? Is it to drop someone off down the lane? It's really a bizarre statement. When I read it, as I say, I'm basically envisioning that Range Rover, a mid-blue colour, good condition Range Rover. The occupants match, the vehicle matches, the timeline matches when compared to the statement of Rebecca Carr, which I'll now get into. Now, why Rebecca Carr's statement is so compelling is that she reaches the Rettendon Turnpike as shown in front of you here. Now, bearing in mind the roads and lanes may well have changed since 1995, but this is the general direction of the Rettendon Turnpike here. So she approaches the turnpike. And what's fascinating about this is that it matches in terms of the route that Tucker and Rolfe would have taken if they were heading towards White House Farm. So again, we go back to the original statement from Arthur White. The vehicle is travelling along here, the A127. It then reaches this following roundabout just down here, where they then take the A1245, which travels up here towards White House Farm. Now, is this what Rebecca Carr is witnessing here? The vehicle travelling up the A1245, where it eventually meets the Rettendon Turnpike. Is that where Rebecca Carr is? Is that where the Range Rover is at that very point, after being seen by Arthur White? Rebecca Carr goes on to state the following. Police statement given the 9th of December 95. I am employed by the governors of a grant-maintained school as the head of department. About 17:25 hours on the 6th of December 95, I was driving my red Vauxhall Astra car from Canvey Island to Malden and was at the lights on red on the Rettendon Turnpike. I had moved onto the roundabout from the A130 from the general direction of Rayleigh. I was in a near-side lane of 3 cars. I was the third from pole position at the lights. In the centre lane to my offside, I noticed at pole position a white Sierra saloon car, and I believe this had a C registration as the first letter. Behind the Sierra was another vehicle that I do not recall, and behind that was a dark-coloured Range Rover. The Range Rover was slightly ahead to my offside. I could see 2 heavily built men in the front of this vehicle, and a third sitting in the middle of the rear seat who was leaning to one side and gave me the impression he was looking at the vehicles ahead. The man in the rear was of large build, and I could see he had his hair cut short at the rear, with clippers maybe, but longer on top. This man had dark hair and wore a dark jacket. One of the men in the front had lighter coloured hair, like a very light brown. I also noticed the passenger and driver of the Sierra were very big built and stocky. As I could see, no light between them. They seemed to fill the front of the Sierra. The passenger had his left arm resting on the door at the bottom of the passenger side window. He looked a very smart man in appearance. He gave the appearance of having money. He was wearing a smart, expensive-looking French coat with epaulettes, and this was a bluey-greeny colour with an almost silky appearance. There may have been somebody else in the rear of the Sierra, but I'm not sure about this. As the lights changed to green, the Sierra moved off at speed straight up the A130. The vehicle at pole position in my lane turned left to Wickford. The vehicle in the offside lane between the Sierra and the Range Rover turned right towards South Woodham. It was immediately obvious that the Range Rover was trying to keep up with the Sierra, as that too went straight onto the A130 ahead. This section of the A130 is on a hill, 2 lanes quickly merging into 1 lane. There is a large arrow on the road indicating for the offside lane to merge with the near side. The Range Rover was struggling to keep up with the Sierra that was by now some distance in front. I slowed to let the Range Rover in front of me. We moved through the village, the Sierra moving fast, exceeding the speed limit, which I believe is 40 miles per hour. Then there was another car, then the Range Rover, then me. As we moved down the hill, I could see that the Sierra braked very, very hard, causing the unknown vehicle, the Range Rover and myself to brake hard. Even though the Sierra had some good ground on us, I was concerned that the road could be icy. The Sierra had its offside indicator working and was waiting to turn into the car park of White House Farm. As soon as the Range Rover saw this, he put his indicator on. The oncoming traffic was heavy and slow moving, and the traffic allowed the Sierra and Range Rover to turn into the car park. I remember seeing a bluey pickup transit-sized truck that had ladders stacked over the cab. I cannot remember if this vehicle actually let them across or was behind the vehicle that did. The car park is part of the farm shop. There is a round silo bin there. I looked to my right and could see the Sierra turning in a wide circle back towards the exit, and the Range Rover was turning the same way, but in a tighter circle towards the exit. I then moved away in the flow of traffic. At the time I observed these things, it was dark, the visibility was good, and I would describe the weather as a crisp, dry winter's evening. The Rettendon Turnpike roundabout is illuminated during the hours of darkness. I did not see the faces of the occupants of the Sierra, and I only had a partial view of the occupants of the Range Rover. Rebecca Carr then goes on to state the following. Further to my previous statement made to the police regarding my sighting of a white Sierra saloon car and a dark-coloured Range Rover at the traffic lights on the Rettendon Turnpike roundabout, from inquiries I have made regarding my movements around the relevant time on Wednesday the 6th of December, I now realise that the time was slightly later. I had called at Benfleet to drop off a friend of mine and quickly called in to see my estate agents in Benfleet. I was at the Rettendon Turnpike around 17:45 hours when I saw the vehicles I have previously described. Further to my previous statement, I have now been shown 2 photographs by DC Wood and DC Brochan of the Essex Police. I was first shown a copy of a photograph, reference RJW/1. This I recognise as the man sitting in the back of the Range Rover that I have previously described. Also, I have been shown a copy of a photograph, reference RJW/2. This appears to have been one of the men in the front of the Range Rover, possibly the driver, who seemed to have longer hair than the man in the back, and his hair seemed to have a square appearance at the back. Very interesting how these statements coincide but are also completely different. When I say coincide, I mean in terms of this man has seen him on the A127 heading in the direction of what is now the A1245 towards Rettendon. Rebecca Carr then picks them up at around 5:45 at the Rettendon Turnpike. Yet we have different occupants being described in these 2 eyewitness accounts. We have Arthur White's statement of 1 driver, 2 men in the back of the vehicle, one of them wearing an expensive looking jacket. But then we have Rebecca Carr's statement, who claims there are 2 front passengers in the Range Rover. There's one of them with longer hair, which would match Tucker, although he wasn't the driver, and someone in the rear who she identifies as Pat Tate. But the man with the expensive looking jacket is now in the white Sierra. Interesting how they coincide in terms of how this Range Rover is being driven though. The fact that Arthur White is talking about the Range Rover swerving from lane to lane, trying to get a view up ahead. And that's basically what is mirrored almost in the statement from Rebecca Carr, where she claims that the Range Rover was following or trying to keep up with the Sierra. It wasn't like the Sierra was, I don't know, driving in a sensible manner so that the Range Rover could keep up. It was almost as if the Sierra was flying off down the road and the Range Rover was struggling to keep up, yet the two vehicles both turn into White House Farm. We then have the fact that Rebecca Carr positively identifies Pat Tate in the rear of the vehicle via looking at photographs provided by the police, yet we have an undisclosed telephone call from Tate's home just after 6 p.m. I think I said it was 1803 earlier, but I think it's 1806, so just gone 6 o'clock. Pat Tate is using his house phone. This is also backed up by the statement of Claire Carey. In her statement, she states, "The last time I had any contact with Pat Tate was on Wednesday the 6th of December when he phoned me at home around 1800 hours. She later states in that statement that she believed that he was at home at the time. Now, the distance from the eyewitness account given by Arthur White is around a 13 to 15 minute drive, bearing in mind that back then there was, a lot of traffic on the road. It was quite poor weather conditions, so it could have been a little bit longer than that. But we're certainly missing out on at least 15 minutes here between the sightings of Arthur White and Rebecca Carr. So how can we explain that? Now, the only way that I can explain it when trying to run this through in my mind in terms of the man with the expensive coat getting from the Range Rover into the white vehicle is that somewhere from that journey on the A127 towards the Rettendon Turnpike, the Range Rover and that white vehicle have pulled over and they've changed seats. The man with the expensive coat has gone from the Range Rover into the white vehicle. Could that explain the 15 minutes of lost time here? Do let me know your own thoughts and theories regarding these two statements and how they could be connected in the comments section below. Do you believe that these statements were simply a different Range Rover that they witnessed on the evening of December the 6th? Was this the killers themselves, or is this the Range Rover F424 NPE that we are looking for? As I say, do leave your own thoughts and theories in the comments section below. Very shortly you'll be able to see some other videos from the channel, including the Essex Boys case playlist, which has all the videos concerning this case in one convenient folder. Many thanks for joining me for this video. I look forward to seeing you all again for the next one. Take care. Cheers.